And this week, we're going with the big one. We've been waiting, and 22 episodes in, it's finally time. And it's not because we couldn't think of anything else this week, we decided on it. So, we're talking about Gogeta and Vegito. Who's better? The big one. So,
It's just to make so many people angry.
yeah, no matter who we pick, we're wrong. So, yeah, first thoughts, you want to anger people first?
uh, I think the first thing you have to say is you can't consider the Boo arc Vegito anymore because he's just too out of date, in my opinion. They've both powered up. We've seen Vegito way past that now, and we've seen Gogeta way past that now. We've seen Blue God of both varieties. So to think all the way back to that Vegito is kind of a moot point at this point. I just think to say like, oh well, he did this back then, it doesn't really matter. It's like saying, oh well, Super Saiyan Goku back then is not as strong as Blue God Vegeta now.
Yeah,
a moot point, I would say.
Yeah,
I would say you have to consider the most recent iterations of both characters and go from there. I think it's the fairest way to look at them.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to take in mind that we can't just look at it as in who is the most powerful villain they defeated and say, well, okay, the most powerful person that Vegito fought was Zamasu. Well, Gogeta went up against Broly. Goku and Vegeta, who fused to become Gogeta, and the two people and the same guys who fused to become Vegito, aren't the same power levels. They're considerably stronger when they became Gogeta. So I don't think you can just say, well, one struggled against Zamasu, because whilst he was handling Zamasu, he was taking hits at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't manhandling Zamasu the same way Gogeta was absolutely handling Broly.
Yeah.
Like Blue God Gogeta was absolute just he didn't get a hit in. Broly did not get a hit in. It was no competition. Whereas whilst Vegeta was winning, Zamasu was hitting him. Yeah, it was a fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't a beating, and I think that's something important to bear in mind. But there have been multiple Zenkai power-ups, at least, never mind training, since that fight. I mean, in that arc alone, Goku and Vegeta had a battering since they separated in the Goku Black arc after that. So that he would have had a power-up at least once in that arc alone.
Yeah.
And then they've been in multiple arcs since then. So they would have had massive power-ups. I think it's very important to bear in mind.
Yeah, I think the thing that people discuss the most is just the simple fact of who's more powerful, and both have their own fanboys and stuff. And to be honest, I don't really think it's much of a competition for me on who's more powerful. I think that's pretty obvious at this point, surely. Like, okay, I'll be the one to say it. Gogeta is more powerful.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remain objective.
Yeah. Like the way you said, you can't really compare the villains that they faced, which is Zamasu and Broly at the time, I guess. But they're fighting, the way they fight is different. To me, Vegito seems more in control of himself, if that makes sense. Like, he seems more like Goku and Vegeta somehow. Like, he seems like a character, whereas Gogeta seems like a machine almost, where he's doing things just for damage. Even the way he talks is like, I don't know, almost robotic in a way. I don't know what it is. Like, Gogeta is so confident in himself, where it makes him stand out because, he knows he's able to defeat anyone pretty much. Whereas Vegito, actually discusses things. He's talking, and he's not overly like cocky. He is a bit, obviously, but he's not as cocky as Gogeta, and he knows that there is weaknesses, and he knows that there's things that need to happen. Especially during the Boo arc, I guess, when he's fighting Boo, he rationalizes the fact that okay, we need to do this, and yeah, we're gonna get absorbed by Boo, so we can get on the inside, that type of thing. He's not like Gogeta, where Gogeta would just be, "I'm gonna defeat you right now, and here we go, we're fighting." Vegito actually strategizes, whereas Gogeta is just attack, attack, attack.
Mm.
I think
I
that's the
think
difference between the two.
Gogeta is literally, to me, he's the savage part of Vegeta
Mm.
and the love of the fight of Goku,
Yeah,
whereas it's literally the opposite way around, maybe.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
Vegito's more like the
It's
what's it?
like Goku is he's a master martial artist.
Yeah,
You've seen him when he fights Hit and
mm.
stuff like that. Like when he fought Hit in base form, he blocked Hit
Yeah,
and punched Hit. Like nobody can say they did that.
yeah. He is
Bar
still
him.
a strategist at the end of the day. He knows what he's doing in a fight to take an advantage, and I
Yeah,
think Vegito is more like that.
yeah. And I think so. He's I think that part takes over
Mm.
Vegito. So I do see what you mean. So I think they are polar opposites, and I think maybe that's the point.
Mm.
Um, but I think it would be pointless for them not to do that. To have Potara fusion and fusion, it's I think it would be pointless for them to be the exact same character just with different names and slightly different designs. I
Yeah.
think they have to have some type of difference in them.
Mm-hmm.
And Gogeta is definitely more cocky than
Yeah.
Vegito to
100%.
see them. I mean, from what I've seen, I do believe Gogeta is stronger because whilst I'm trying to remain objective and saying that there are power differences and that you have to bear in mind that there have been power-ups from the Vegito that we saw and there have been Zenkai boosts and training and everything like that. You would have to bear in mind that the amount of power-ups that they would have to have had to go from Vegito beating Zamasu, or he had the upper hand. He didn't beat him, but he had the upper hand.
Yeah.
But he was still fighting him. To seeing that Gogeta was toying with Broly, which is what he was doing. There is no way anybody can say anything else than he was toying with Broly. Yeah. It would basically be that the Goku and Vegeta that were separated at that point in the Broly film would be so strong that they would toy with someone like Zamasu alone in their own base forms. That's how strong they would be by this point. Yeah, that's how powerful they would have to be now, if not stronger. And I don't think they're at that point. I don't see it. Like, I don't know that's the case, but I don't think they've gotten that strong.
No.
I think that I don't see it. I don't see any evidence to support that.
Yeah.
Like Zamasu was hella strong, and
yeah, we don't know for sure who is stronger between Zamasu and Broly, of course, because they'll never fight each other. But also, you've got to assume that just because it's Dragon Ball,
superheroes, you never know. It's,
yeah, maybe, yeah,
it's chaos, that show.
Yeah, but I guess just because it's Dragon Ball, they always go, here's a villain, now here's the next villain who's slightly stronger, then here's the next villain who's slightly stronger, and blah, blah, blah. So if they keep that order, then yeah, Broly is probably stronger than Zamasu, maybe. But even if not, just the way they fight between each other, like you've already mentioned, Vegito was getting hit a few times here and there. He was putting up a fight and he was in control, but he was also still being hit a few times. Whereas Gogeta didn't get hit, ever.
He wasn't even close to getting hit.
No, and I get, not counting GT because I don't want to talk about GT, it's separate. But even the Dragon Ball Z movies, which I know are also not canon, but they were at least written by the same people. So yeah, we seen Gogeta in the Janemba film, and Similar to in the Broly film, he shows up, he deals damage, he leaves, he doesn't get hit. So it's like, yeah, I
He
understand.
deletes Janemba.
Yeah, he
Like
completely
in
destroys
seconds,
Janemba.
he just deletes him.
Yeah,
Like there's no hesitation.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, they brought Gogeta back in the Broly film for the first time since then, and he does exactly the same thing. So it's like they fully liked Gogeta as a character. They just didn't make him full canon until the Broly film, I guess. But they
Yeah.
were a fan, and when they thought, okay, we can actually do it now, it worked. And to be honest, I can't really remember, but they didn't mention. Well, Vegeta was still kind of like, oh, I don't want to fuse with you type of thing, but he did it. But I can't remember if they said, are we doing this again? Like, I never wanted to do this again or something. I don't think they did. But they also never mentioned this is going to be the first time we're doing this, which is why I'm thinking, are they kind of hinting at the Janemba film, even though it wasn't canon that they've done this before?
I
I'm not
can't
sure.
remember. I'd have to watch it back.
Yeah.
Um, I think maybe if he said I'm not doing this again, maybe he's just referring to the Patara
Hmm.
and the fact that they fused in some capacity before.
Yeah.
It could
Maybe.
be that
Maybe.
he just doesn't like being in the same body as Goku. Uh,
Yeah.
just because they did mess up the fusion, remember?
That's
So they're
true.
not practiced at it.
Hmm.
Whereas you find that Goten and Trunks could just do it like that. Whereas obviously I think there was a hint that they struggle at it in the new film. I think it might have been hinted at.
Maybe.
I'm not for sure, but that's because they haven't done it in a while.
Hmm.
I think that was hinted at. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Because there's been a time of peace or something. So it's like if you're not practiced at it, you're not going to do it. But once they were doing it all the time, Goten and Trunks could just do it constantly.
Hmm.
But if you're not practiced at it, you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Of course.
Plus, they
So.
left Frieza to get battered by Broly.
Yeah. But I guess as a character, we have seen Vegito more. He was prominent throughout the Zamasu arc a lot longer than Gogeta was around for the Broly film. And because of this, we know the character a bit more. And as well, like, he was around in the Boo arc and stuff, and, had the fight. So we know more about Vegeta. We know more about what he's capable of, how powerful he is. Whereas we don't really know the limits of Gogeta. He's never had a challenge yet. He's never went all out because he hasn't needed to. So we don't know how powerful someone needs to be just to land a hit on Gogeta yet. But as a character, I prefer Vegito more, just because we know more about him, and he is the strategist side of Goku, and they actually think about it before they do things. Even when Boo was about to absorb them, that was the plan. They wanted to be absorbed or turned into chocolate so that Boo would eat them and they could be inside Boo. Whether they really planned for that, I mean, it did work, but it might not have worked. But yeah, even as they were turned into chocolate, they were fighting Boo as a piece of Andy, and they were just that little ball flying around, just
Battering.
basically jabbing into Boo, and Boo was just like, "What the hell is going on here? We can't touch him."
Well, I would wholly argue that Goku and Vegeta should never, ever, ever, and I mean ever, use Vegito ever again in the entirety of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, they don't need to. Like, why?
No, I think it would be a poor decision, regardless of who is stronger. They should never use it again because of how wholly unreliable he is, based on the fact that when he was fighting Zamasu, why did they lose? Because they defused when because they were too powerful. So his time, how long they are fused together, is based on how strong they are. And literally, they were on top of him, they were battering him down, and then they just defused.
Yeah.
Whereas with Gogeta, they have half an hour. It's as simple as that. That's it done.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't know the limitations of the Patara. The rules keep changing, and the stronger they get, the less time they're going to have. At a critical time, they defused, and they arguably could have lost without Trunks' super sword. So basically, they should never ever use the Potara again. They should just use the Potara are totally unreliable, and that to me means that Vegito should not be utilized.
No, I don't think he
Even
needs
if
to come
Vegito
back.
was stronger, I think it's too risky.
Yeah, because even if he was stronger, he'd be around for maybe 2-3 minutes max.
Yeah,
And
and that's not a guarantee that you could defeat the big bad.
yeah,
Like Broly, took them longer than 2-3 minutes to kill him. I mean, could Gogeta have done it sooner? Yes, probably, but maybe he couldn't. I mean, when we reacted to the fight, I mean, and we also had the discussion about did Gogeta go too far? I think we both said that Gogeta could have done it a lot quicker if he wanted to kill him. I mean, so he could have probably done it in 2 or 3 minutes. But other big bads, is that the case?
probably.
Could they be Jiren in 2-3 minutes? Are they strong enough? Yeah, it's like, and then there's a whole discussion: is Jiren stronger? Is Broly stronger? That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah,
that the internet would hate us for as well.
No, I agree. The Potara earrings, there's no need for Vegito anymore. I think they should be kept for lesser characters at this point. Like for, I don't know, let's see a Trunks Goten fusion through the Potara earrings. What's that going to be like? Who knows? Or any other characters, you know? Let's do a Piccolo Gohan.
I was
Let's
literally about to say
like.
that would be some horrible mutation, though.
Yeah.
That would be terrifying.
Because since you need to be the same, like, well, you don't need to be the same height for the Potara, for the fusion dance, because Goku and Vegeta are very different heights.
The hair are the same height.
Yeah, almost, yeah. But, I mean, that was hinted at, to be honest. That was a thing. When they first introduced the fusion dance, they're like, oh, you've got to be similar builds and stuff, which is why Piccolo and it was Krillin, I think. Was it them two who were showing showing how to do it? They didn't fuse because they were completely different builds, and they're like, "Oh, you've got to be similar," which is why they gave it to the kids instead because they were the same height. But then Goku and Vegeta can do it, and it's like, well, they're not the same height, not even close, really.
I think they just said muscly men. That'll do.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Leave the Bataras for someone else who can.
Fighters?
Yeah, why not? Why not? That would be good. Tien and Piccolo are similar heights. That would be interesting.
Tien and Yamcha or something like that.
Yeah. See Tien with hair.
What is it, like 10? Like they said 10 times or something like that. Like
something like that. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
You would actually take you would actually take a relatively, I wouldn't say weak, but weak compared to your Saiyans, and you would make them relatively viable fighters.
That's the thing, though, actually, because originally the Batara earrings are like, if you do this, then you're fused forever. And that's just because there was only weak people who were fusing and found out over time that the stronger you are, the less time you fuse together. If someone like Piccolo and Tien fused, they could be fused together for maybe, a year, potentially, because they're not on the same power, not even close to the same power level as the Saiyans. So they could be fused for a long time. But also, in a situation where there is a major threat and Goku and Vegeta aren't around, that might be a sacrifice they just need to take.
Yeah.
You know?
But I would say, I mean, the Kais were saying this, and the Kais, in the grand scheme of things, aren't that strong. Like, I would say Piccolo and Tien and that these days are stronger than the Kais, or much stronger than the Kais.
Yeah.
So I would say they would be merged a lot less time than what the Kais would consider a long time. So yeah, like I would think they would be like a year at the most. Because,
or even potential, they could just use the Dragon Balls to unmerge them.
Yeah, I don't think that would be out their power.
Potentially.
The thing is, Kefla, when she was merged, so Khalifa and Kale, when they got hit with Goku's Kamehameha, it broke the Potara, and
Hmm,
that's what defused them. So could they not just smash the Potara?
maybe. Who knows?
Have they changed it to the fact that that's all it takes?
Potentially.
Have they changed it? I don't know if that's a retcon.
Or maybe it was just kind of like the whole Gogeta trying to destroy Broly thing, where last second he got teleported away, and it was like last second the beam hit, but also the time ran out because that's just how long the Pataras lasted for them, and then they broke up as soon as they were hit.
No, because actually, because it focused on the ears where it actually smashed.
Hmm.
Um, like actually focused at the beam smashed. The beam smashed the earrings,
Yeah,
which
maybe
is. But I mean, they were very powerful,
they were.
Kale and Khalifa at that time.
Yeah, I guess getting back on topic of Gogeta and Vegito.
Yeah,
Well, I think we're both in agreement, at least anyway, that Gogeta is probably stronger. But
I think he's
um,
just more viable as well.
yeah,
So I think even regardless of even if they were the exact same strength level,
hmm,
Gogeta's the option
yeah,
due to practicalities.
hmm, yeah, and yeah. Even though Gogeta is stronger, I still prefer Vegito as a character. Well, his characteristics are better. I think more of a strategist and stuff. Whereas Gogeta's just let's attack and win. Um,
See,
but
I enjoy the savagery of Gogeta.
yeah, I
Um,
do too, but just because we haven't seen him much, and every time, well, both times we have seen him, I guess, it is just one and done very quickly. It's like,
yeah,
you need more to build on, and so far that's all we've got, so we don't really know much about him.
I think it's just because I like this because he's got the because like I said, I think it's a savagery of old school Vegeta
Hmm.
and the love of the fight of Goku, and it's like Vegeta's stepping back from that a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so I like to keep that part in the show
Hmm.
because he's behaving a little bit these days, Vegeta.
Hmm.
Not wholly, but a little bit. So I
Yeah.
would like to keep that part in the show because I've always liked that about Vegeta.
Hmm.
Um, like I've liked that he's always kind of been a bit crazy. um, so I do like that, and plus the cockiness is always a bit funny
Yeah.
because he was just a straight up savage.
Hmm.
Um, so I do like that. Um, so I do prefer Gogeta. And yeah, just the Vegito thing I think highly impractical. So I personally prefer Gogeta.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, we have different opinions, so we can both, disappoint multiple people. So yeah, I prefer Vegito, even though I think Gogeta is more powerful, and you prefer Gogeta, and also think he's more powerful. Well, potentially, depending on how long Potara could last. Um, but yeah, I think we can wrap up that segment there.
Yeah,
So let's move on now to the Hall of Fame.
let's go.